Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secret sewer glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine yay. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of the May. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabaret. And we're live tonight.
Hey everybody, welcome to Amber Live. This is me, Rocco Zamboni. I'm going to be taking you on a tour through this wonderful show. So sit back, buckle up, do whatever you got to do. Pour a drink, of course, because, you know. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, or X, and all those other things that you can, subscribe to. And let's go move on with the show, shall we? Who do we got? I don't even know. Russell?
We got you doing the news briefs.
Oh. I guess I should start over.
Yeah. Here's Rocco with the news briefs.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, here's Rocco with the news briefs. Grab your booze, because it's time for the news. Right-wing conspiracy crybaby lump of shit, Alex Jones, started the process of liquidating his assets on Friday, taking the initial steps towards paying the $1.5 billion he owes families of the 2012 Sandy Hook school shooting. Jones, who runs the moronic InfoWars media platform, would repeatedly describe the shooting, which killed 20 first-grade students and 6 teachers, as a hoax, solidifying his dominance in the asshole of the century category. Families of the victims filed defamation suits against Jones and InfoWars, and while Jones eventually conceded in court that the shooting was real, it was too late to save him from legal action. What a dick. In an effort to avoid payment, Jones and several of his companies declared bankruptcy, and Jones insisted he could never pay the damages. I don't have any money, Jones said after the billion-dollar judgment. So it's all a big joke. Yeah? Well, if it were up to me, the joke would be on Jones. Part of his settlement should have him standing naked in front of the victims' houses while selling off all of his assets in a big garage sale type setting, and every half hour, the families get to shoot him in the ass with a pellet gun while he cries and continuously screams, "I'm sorry, I'm a huge piece of shit." This will go on every day until he pays off the $1.5 billion that he owes them. One can hope. Also, in the wake of former President Donald Trump's felony conviction last week for falsifying business records to hide a hush money payment to a porn star, Stormy Daniels, by the way, President Biden now leads his Republican rival 46% to 44% in a two-way race for the White House for the first time since October of 2023. Overall, 52% say Trump's conviction was a fair outcome meant to hold him accountable for his own actions. Just 35% who say a fair outcome meant to damage him politically, unfair. A fair, unfair, same thing. And 49% think Trump was more of a criminal in the trial versus 34% who consider him more of a victim. proving that 100% of Trump supporters are idiots. The fact that Trump, as a convicted felon, can't vote but can run and serve as president, and the fact that he can no longer own a gun but can have the codes to nuclear weapons is a joke I can't laugh at. I guess he can't have his cake, but he can still eat it. Oh, and speaking of trials, Hunter Biden's criminal gun trial abruptly ended for the week on Friday after his daughter Naomi Biden testified that her dad seemed great and seemed hopeful just days after he purchased a Colt revolver in October of 2018. Bolstering the defense claim that he was not abusing drugs around the time he procured the gun. Personally, I'd like to know what he was in such a good and hopeful mood for. He just bought a gun. If he was on drugs, I could actually understand being so happy. I've had guns while under the influence, and I'll be damned if I didn't enjoy shooting the crap out of Jared Kushner's Ferrari. It's just fun. If he wasn't on drugs, then I'd actually be concerned. Either way, his daughter Naomi is hot, and he never mentioned wanting to date her. So he's still nowhere near as creepy as Trump. And that's what I consider news. Hey, that was some crazy news, right? Anyway, here's that other guy you seem to like. I don't know why. Russell, come on in here.
Rocco, you
Russell!
crazy bastard. How are you?
I'm all right. You know.
Of course you are. So tonight we want to tell the people the best place to watch because we got a great show as always. And the best place to watch is always on YouTube, youtube.com/AmberLive. And that's because on YouTube, you get to see everyone in full HD and there's a chat room with all your friends in it. So you can talk to them. You can talk to us. You can leave dirty mess. Oh, wait, no, you can't do that. But you can
Why not?
Because you get censored. But you can have a lot of fun in the chat room talking with everybody, and we'll have a grand old time. So we'll see you there. youtube.com/AmberLive. And then after the show, like Rocco mentioned, check out our TikTok, our Instagram, our Facebook, and even our website. And then what do we have for a show tonight, Rocco? We have the Rooster.
Rooster, no kidding.
Yeah, the Rooster was on the show before. As people may know, because some people know, our 200th episode is coming up on the 23rd. So that's just 2 weeks from now. And so this week and next week, we're going to run a couple of our favorite episodes, some of the more fun things that happened. So tonight, we're going to do the Rooster because Amber had a great time with the Rooster, really hit it off with them because they're both from Ohio.
From Lima or Lima.
Well, Amber is originally. The Rooster, I don't think, was from Lima. I forget exactly where in Ohio he was from, but maybe. And then after that, we're going to have Rocco and Boog and Shug and all kinds of the usual craziness. So check out the show tonight. Here it is. The Rooster.
The Rooster.
After losing a political race in Ohio, DJ Burns took on a new role, political activist and gonzo journalist. He's got quite the story to tell. Here are some clips.
My name is DJ Burns, candidate for state representative. I'm a 31-year-old Piqua resident and senior editor of 11warriors.com. I joined this race in July because I could no longer in good conscience remain on the sidelines while privileged politicians rewarded their corporate sponsors at the expense of working people.
So did you write this?
Yeah, I wrote every word.
So what's the idea behind the words?
I'm running because guys like me are supposed to stay on the sidelines. I know so many people throughout my life that would make great public servants. Humble, they're smart, and they understand that people should come before profits.
What's your name?
My name is DJ Burns. I run the Rooster.
You run the what?
The Rooster.
What is that?
You can ask some friends back there. They know me. Reb Dobos, any comment on you lying for 30 years about having an MIT degree? I mean, what's going on with that, brother?
I'll say is that we're looking forward to the future of how we're going to be continuing to serve our constituents in my district, and I erred in what I did.
Well, I mean, what would you say to? I mean, you were president of the Columbus City School Board, man, as a high school graduate. I mean, yeah. So in Ohio, if a 10-year-old were raped and she can legally have an abortion today. Yeah, but you're trying to end that. Yeah. So we're not there. But so how would that work in your society then? If a 10-year-old has a kid and there's no abortion allowed, how would you justify? We would help her, actually. Make sure you're going to help a 10-year-old have a child. I got a question for you, Mean Gene. Your top aide, your former top aide, Joe Braun, right? You're pro-life as they come, pro-life Republican. You want the 10-year-old rape to have their rapist baby. You called it an opportunity, correct? Do you have any comment on Joe Braun getting an abortion for his mistress? It's on audio recording. I talked to my friend Chris Hicks about it. I mean, come on, brother. It looks bad if you run.
Not running from you.
I mean, you're running right now. I mean, I'm a citizen. I'm a citizen of Ohio. You work for me, technically.
Oh my goodness. I love this guy already. DJ Burns, come on in.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
I was walking down memory lane.
That. I love that. All right. So back in 2018, you decided to run for state representative from the Piqua or Central Ohio. It's
Western. Yeah, it was out in Western. Yeah, right down 75 from Lima.
Yeah, that I know Lima very well. So you said why, but what really prompted you to run?
Well, honestly, I was fed up with my job at the time. I was sitting there thinking about ways to bury my boss in a pool of acid out, in the desert somewhere and getting away with it. I was like, this isn't healthy. And an opportunity came to run in Ohio. 2018 was a big year. Trump had been elected. It was the midterms. And the Ohio Democratic Party had this thing. They wanted to run people in all 99 House district seats. And we had a guy that probably would have been a better candidate than me. Had roots in the area. I believe he was a farmer, but he dropped out. And then the opportunity came to run for State House. And I was like, I'll do it. I'm bored. I've got nothing better to do. And I never do anything. It's my addict brain. Moderation really isn't my forte. So I quit my job, dove headfirst into it, thinking, the district, how it was, I knew I was going to lose some stroke of God. But I was, trying to propel Democrats in the rural areas and help the statewide candidacies. And we all went down. But it was a good life lesson, and I don't regret running at all. I'm glad we stood on our principles.
So what has happened to Ohio? I mean, Howard Metzenbaum was a senator. John Glenn was a senator. Dick Celeste was governor. I mean, the three top offices were held by Democrats, and now none of them. Well, Sherrod Brown.
Sherrod Brown is the only one left, and statewide Democrat, and he's got a fight on his hands. Regardless, there's a bitterly contested three-way Republican primary right now, and Sherrod Brown will have the fight of his life on his hands in November, no matter who wins that. As for Ohio, how much time do we have? It pretty much started when the John Kasich era, when the Tea Party, Ohio elected our first gay, Muslim, Black, communist president in Barack Obama. And then the Tea Party came into power, and we elected this guy, John Kasich, who is on MSNBC now as a last sane moderate, but he was elected on the Tea Party backlash. And they swept offices, came back into power, threw our last Democratic governor in the trash. And they basically looked at Ohio and were like, okay, how can we prevent this from ever happening again? And they gerrymandered the state legislature with pinpoint precision. And I mean, there's emails where they refer to, Franklin County, a Democratic Columbus, Ohio, where I live now, as a sinkhole and dog meat. We'll throw them the dog meat voters. And they just successfully leveraged their power on a state level for the last 10 years. And the idea that, Trump, we elected Obama twice, but then Trump came back. We elected him twice. I assume if he runs, when he's the nominee this fall, he'll win again. And it's just for whatever reason, between the Republicans being ruthless, the Ohio Democratic Party, for its part, hasn't proved worthy of organizing a child's birthday party, let alone statewide elections. And there just hasn't been, they haven't shown a willingness to find candidates that resonate with Ohio voters at large, despite us beating them in the special election in August and then enshrining abortion in the Constitution in November, along with legalizing weed. So it's a long story. We could go all day on what's wrong with Ohio.
All right, there were some clips there from a documentary. Tell me about that.
So I used to work for 11 Warriors, very popular Ohio State football website, and I had a bit of a following just talking about Ohio State being good. I think they're going to be good this year, and I developed sort of a following. And when I left 11 Warriors to run for the office, one of my readers, Benedict Xulius, he was a filmmaker out in Los Angeles, and he had just moved back to Ohio. And he had this idea of covering my race out in Western Ohio. And he wanted my opponent to be in it too, and kind of just, a small town state legislative race in Ohio, with the backdrop being, the blue wave and stuff like that with the national politics. And my opponent really didn't participate in it too much until the end. I don't really think she trusted, the LA filmmakers. But I thought it turned out really well. Unfortunately, had I won, we could have gone to Sundance. But that's what I told them the night that I lost. I cost them Sundance. And then, unfortunately, the pandemic happened right after that, right when it got released. So all the film festivals and stuff we were going to do got scrapped. And my understanding, it's done well in every film festival it's got in since, but it's it's just kind of there as a marker now in my life of it feels like another lifetime ago, honestly.
All right, how did you start the Rooster?
So the Rooster, I had a blog in high school that was called The Rooster that was pretty much just about things that every 16-year-old kid hates about their high school. And, everybody's dumb except for me. My teachers suck. I'm way smarter than them. It was just terrible type of, long story. I got in some trouble with it. But then after my race, I was drinking too much, if you could believe that. I've been sober now since August 2022. But at that time, I was, drinking pretty heavily. I had quit my job and I thought, well, I knew I was going to lose, but I'll go work for I'll impress somebody else with my campaign, and I'll go work for somebody else that wins. Well, we all got beat way better. It helped me at my loss anyway. But I really didn't know what was next. And I was sitting there, and then I read about Substack, which is kind of like, for a platform for writers to kind of be their own boss and develop their own platform. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start this. And I couldn't think of a name. Knew I wanted to do it because I had a bit of a following on social media and couldn't think of a name. And the girl I was dating at the time, God bless her soul, she was like, you know what about the Rooster? Why don't you just call it the Rooster? And it's stuck since then. So now I just tell people, when people ask about it at the State House, I just say, the Rooster is a dumb barnyard animal that crows at all hours of the day, but like it will defend its turf to the death. So it's kind of the ethos I try to bring to the table with it.
Is there money involved in that?
Oh yeah. It's actually funny because I've started going up to the State House. It's become a lot more profitable. It used to just be kind of a daily rant from your neighborhood drunk that was like entertaining guy to sit next to at the bar, but you really wouldn't put him in charge of too much. But since I've started going up to the State House and being sober and taking it more seriously, it's become more lucrative. So, but I've also talked to people up there. There's a lot of Republicans that thought for a while that I was a homeless guy living under a bridge. Like I made a comment, I'm going to go hang out with my wife. And they're like, you have a wife? And I was like, yeah. They're like, you have a house? I was like, I mean, I have an overpriced downtown apartment. I don't have a house, but I thought like they thought I was like a homeless guy living under a bridge. Like typing from a library or going and taking showers in like public restrooms, and I guess just has a passion for covering state politics. And then other people have accused me of being bankrolled by some rich state legislators who find my work humorous. So I kind of say it's somewhere in between being homeless and, living as a sugar baby like I wish I was. But it's enjoy. I do well enough for myself. I'll say that much.
All right, DJ, we're going to take a little break right now, but when we come back, we're going to talk about how the Wall Street Journal wrote about you, which is fascinating. We'll be right back.
Hey, that was great. The Rooster is fantastic. I love this guy. Anyway, Russell, where the heck are you? Get over here.
I don't know. Where am I? I'm lost, Rocco. I'm lost.
Yeah, I know.
Here I am. Yeah. So that was a great interview, part one. We have part two coming still, so everybody stick around. But I do want to tell everyone a little bit about something that Dwayne Scott Cerny and I are doing, and you may have heard of this already. We're going to be talking about it a lot in the next few weeks, and then you'll probably see it on our social media. We are doing something called the Dead People's Store, and this is based on his best-selling book, Selling Dead People's Things, and you should go check it out. It's on Etsy. We've got like 90 great products already available, and they're very funny. They're based on vintage photographs that Dwayne has, like this one. I think she'll have fun when she gets there. And there's also this one. Rocco looks a little scared from that, but you're going to enjoy the products. They're on tote bags, on mugs, on t-shirts. Get them for Pride, get them for every day. It's not just Pride stuff. That's what we have right now, but you're in those two. That's what I'm showing you. There's a lot of other stuff. We have Halloween and Christmas items up already. I know Rocco loves Christmas, so get on over, check out the Dead People's Store on Etsy. And
all right,
just
I got a question first.
Follow this QR code that I'm showing you right there, and you will get there and have a good time. So what's your question, Rocco?
Can I buy body parts there?
You cannot buy body parts there. I'm sorry. The only place I know where you can buy body parts and there is jewelry is from our past guest, Rocco DeGotti. If you look her up, she has a store, and I don't think it's on Etsy. I think you have to buy them through her, where she sells jewelry made out of bones. So that might help you out. That's a start. All right. Well, I guess it's time for guest interview part 2. So here's more with the Rooster.
All right. We're back with DJ Burns. Now, DJ, there's an article about you in the Wall Street Journal. Tell us about that.
Well, it was definitely the most infamous article I've written. It's not the most read or not the most I've ever made money on, but definitely the most infamous. Basically, I was drinking at the time, and I used to cover Ohio State football, and I basically scooped the national press on a story of Urban Meyer getting a lap dance in his own restaurant in the most busy neighborhood in Columbus, the Short North. If you're from Columbus, everybody knows it. And he's one of the most famous guys ever in his own restaurant doing this. And
okay, time out.
Yeah.
A lot of my viewers would have no idea who Urban Myers is. Urban Myers was a professional football coach. Then he was the coach at The Ohio State University. Yeah. Then he moved down to Florida, and this is when that happened. Okay.
Yeah, he was coaching with the Jacksonville Jaguars at the time. So he had won a national championship at Ohio, kind of left Columbus in a scandal, but was still wildly popular enough to have his own restaurant. And he lost to the Bengals on Thursday Night Football, lied to his team, didn't fly home with his team, instead came up to Columbus to celebrate one of his friend's birthdays, and by all accounts, had a couple too many Bud Lights. And he got exposed. So, he was in the middle of a restaurant and people filmed him getting a lap dance. Well, he got up there and he lied to his team and he said, there was just some young woman. I was out enjoying some beers with my friends, and some young woman was trying to entice me onto the dance floor. You know how it goes. But he didn't realize there was a second shooter in the club that night. And one of my friends hit me up. He's like, "Have you seen the second video?" And I was like, "No." And so he sent me the second video, and it was from the woman in question from her Snapchat. And it was clearly Urban Meyer, putting his hands where they shouldn't be, sealing all accounts of what it should be. And it was a scandal. It really rocked the credibility with his team. And he was fired before the year was over. But I was a union electrician at the time, and he was pretty vindictive. And his foundation had a business relationship with my union and my contractor. And I was just a year one apprentice at the time. So they got me out of there for that. But, the beat goes on, as they say.
Some other articles that you've published. Let's see some of those. All right. What happened here?
So this is actually, this is my opponent from from the 2018 race. Jenna Powell, she was 24 at the time, youngest member of the state legislature. And, I'm sure on election night of that night, she's probably how, well, I never have to deal with that joker ever again. And I started popping up at the State House, and I heard a rumor, I heard one of her fellow Republicans remark to me that it's like, she's living down in Darke County, right? Or living down in Mason, down in Warren County, which is about 75 miles outside of her district. So I've got, it's not it's a one-man band in the front, but I have a bunch of people that like researching this stuff that they don't want their name on it. So I put one of my researchers on it, and she found mortgage statements with her husband saying like, we're going to move into this house by this date and live in it for so many days consecutively to satisfy, our mortgage, which overlapped with the election. So she was either she was doing mortgage fraud, which would be a bad thing for her husband because he's a big time realtor, or she was just doing voter fraud and voting in Darke County instead of, switching up her registration. And it was a big time story. It's Ohio. Republicans protect Republicans, and she didn't suffer any consequences for it. But she's recently resigned. She's not running for re-election. So when I beat her, she could have been. People were saying she was going to be the governor, and now she's going to be. She's out after 3 terms instead of doing the 4. So that's definitely one of the bigger ones.
All right, next, Russell.
Oh, Daniel Kalmbach. So this guy, and this is the thing. Like I had a state senator tell me one time, 90% of voters only care about who the president is, and so they don't know these state your state legislator folks. It's very important. Like you should know who these people are. They honestly affect your life more than they do in D.C. But Daniel Kalmbach is the son of. This guy, a big-time Republican donor. They own Kalmbach Feeds. His dad's a member of the Heritage Foundation, which is like, $10,000 minimum donation. Is donated to the Jim Jordans, the Bob Lattas, anywhere, like he's a heavy hitter and a donor. And so his son, he graduated law school, failed the bar 3 times, got a DUI in 2022. And in which he threatened the woman, totaled her car, threatened her, was like, do you have any idea who I am? And she's like, no. And so he's resurfaced as a state house candidate in Licking and Perry County, basically on the other side in Eastern Ohio, where he's from. And he's basically running as a family first. I mean, we all know the types, the family first, Christian values type of conservative. But if you go through his Venmo history, he was clearly, purchasing party drugs. His social media history was like littered with him. He obviously like enjoyed going to raves and like seeing, drag shows and stuff. And which is, if you're going to drink and drug and party like that, that's fine with me. Lord knows I've done a lot of that. But what kills me about these guys is they won't just go do that. Like, just go be some rich kid and go party with your friends and go live that lifestyle. But instead, he's trying to come back to the Ohio legislature as some farmer. Like, he wears like $800 Gucci shoes, $2,000 Louis Vuitton backpacks. But then in his campaign ads, he's like, shoveling pig manure and saying you can tell a lot by a man and his code. And just a complete fraud. But it's Ohio, so he could win.
Okay, next story.
Ooh, Jenny's ice cream. This is actually my most popular, the most read, most money making, most popular article of all time. Jenny's ice creams, which has a national brand, started in Columbus. Nancy Pelosi's a big fan of it. She keeps it in her $25,000 freezer. But if you look at Jenny, Jenny Britton, if you look at her social media page, I need to speak to her drug dealer because she has access to some incredible, I don't know what, incredible stuff. She just travels the world and she's just basically insane. Like, she talks about being related to the Salem witch trial witches, and which I'm fine with. You know what I mean? Like, I'm generally in favor of rich people showing other people how insane they are, so that we're not under any delusion that they're smarter than us. But I started talking to some people who used to work for her company, and everybody's like, you should just write an article on how they came up and the brand. And I just had this outpouring of articles where I basically didn't even edit it because I was, just drunk at the time. It was just former workers from all levels, whether it was, office, white collar, all the way down to working in the warehouse where they had something called the poop closet. It was just contaminated and stuff. It was just a horribly run company, treated its workers like absolute garbage, and had 2 listeria outbreaks, which made national news, but has somehow, weathered that. She sold it. She sold the company that she started. Her ex-husband financed it. Basically, they got divorced. She sold it, and now I think they're still trying to sell it right now. But it's a national brand, and she made it. It's the American dream: exploit a bunch of workers, and then you just get to post how you want on Instagram stories all day.
Do we have one more, Russell?
Oh, yeah. So this one actually, my friend was a beloved bartender in the Short North. Again, it's just imagine any arts district that a Midwest city has, a big drag strip down the middle. But my buddy was working as a bartender in the Short North, and he was walking, got off a shift, got a gyro, and he was walking back to his car or whatever, and got into a confrontation with these bouncers he got in a confrontation at the CD bar, and they were going to try to fight. They squared up. He dropped his hands and went to turn away, and the second friend came up and sucker punched him and square rooted him, hit his head in the back, fell, hit his head in the street. Doctor said he probably died then, but if he didn't, they stood over him, punched him, slapped him, cussed him out, robbed him, and then left him there in the street for about which is, again, this is the most popular district on Labor Day weekend. And I know all that because these guys went home and they uploaded it to Facebook, which, as horrible as it was seeing my friend get murdered in that way, I'm thankful they did, because honestly, 50% of murders go unsolved in this city. So, I'm thankful for that. They were dumb enough to do that in that regard. And that trial actually starts tomorrow. So it's gone, and they're going to try to say that he started the confrontation or whatever, but the video speaks for itself. So they're going to go away for a long time, but it's tough. It's tough, but Ohio, in typical fashion, now this week we're also trying to bring back the death penalty, and it's my best friend was murdered. I don't want these guys murdered by the state. I put them in prison where they belong for the rest of their lives, and so they can think about it.
Make them suffer. Make them
Yeah.
suffer. Do you have any? Do you have any? I don't want to say goals, but do you have any big story that you'd really like to sink your teeth into?
Oh, again, how much time do you have? The big one the two big ones that I would like to write would be the Ohio Farm Bureau. Like most people just think, they picture the Farm Bureau and it's just a mom and pop operations, humble. It's like, no, these guys, it was started by Nationwide Insurance. Not a lot of people know that. And they basically, Nationwide has gotten like so much bigger than them, and they can still control who sits on that board. And they are one of the most powerful lobbyist groups in the state that nobody really thinks about. And it's not mom and pop stores that they go to bat for. It's these large agricultural corporations. And they do stuff like, Lake Erie up by Toledo and stuff. They have the toxicology blooms now in the summer. Yeah. Well, that's because we let the farmers just dump anything they want into the rivers. and the corruption with that, the power that they have, and also just with the farm subsidies. That's what kills me about these guys. Like farmers, they're the biggest, not to just use the phrase that Reagan invented, they're the biggest welfare queens in the game.
Yes.
And that's pretty much how they control, they keep the farmers in line and voting Republican is because they control all the subsidies and how that flows out to them. And I would also like to do one on the Ohio Department of Transportation and just how Ohio became, we're the largest state in the country without passenger rail. And we're just completely, I always joke with some ODOT employee on social media the other day. I was like, it's called the Ohio Department of Transportation, not the Ohio Department of Cars. And their former like director was called Johnny Ray. They called him the asphalt sheriff. Now, I know enough about Ohio where it's like you don't just get a nickname like the asphalt sheriff without just some corruption going on. And I would just like to dig into the history of that and how they successfully killed the vibrant streetcar systems that we had in Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, even mid-sized cities like Dayton, and basically have fought passenger rail in a state that would be perfect for it, and stuff like that. So it's, like I say, Ohio being what it is, it's good for business, I guess.
Well, J.D. Burns, thank you so much. You're fascinating. I love your style. I love what you're going after. Keep doing it. And come back here if you ever have a great story you want to break. We'd love to hear about it.
Anytime. Thank you, Amber, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Rooster. And now, the favorite part of the show, Rocco Zamboni. Come on, Rocco. Hey, it's me, Rocco. Listen, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some positive, funny things that I've been seeing lately, because I'm tired of all this negative bullshit. All right? Now, this is stuff you may have seen online, maybe not, but every time I see it, I smile. And when I'm smiling, I'm happy, and I know you guys are happy too. So take a look at this stuff and let me know if you laugh or smile. Now that's some funny stuff. Sometimes the internet's got some good stuff on it, and you gotta look at it and say, today's gonna be a good day. So, I hope you all have a good day, or night, or week, or life. Talk to you later.
Love that Rocco.
Oh, that Rocco, he's always got something weird, right? I don't know where he comes up with it. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching the show again. We really love that you come here. It's true, we do. You know, it makes it a lot of fun. And thank you, Rooster, for coming and chatting with us. And Amber and Russell and whoever else. I don't know. I'm just sitting here having a drink. So let's wrap this up with good old Boog and Shug.
Hey, Shug. I think I just had an out-of-body experience.
What are you talking about now, Boog?
Well, instead of watching the show, my brain left my body and went and had lunch.
Oh, you're out to lunch, all right, Boog.
Grilled cheese.